Welcome all. Let's get started with the session today. So I hope all of you have received a good score on your CAT or on any other test that you have already taken, be it NMAT or SNAP, and hence you are here to start your GDPI preparation. I'll tell you the agenda for the day. Agenda is I'm going to give you guidelines and the framework of how to start your GDPI prep throughout the journey for the next, let's say, anything between 6 to 12 weeks. How do you actually go about preparing for PI and VAT, right? Because the entire process may seem overwhelming. There's so much to do. Somebody will tell you, read newspapers, prepare a CADs, and so many other things, right? So we are here to give you a structure of how exactly will you prepare for GDPI, and B, how exactly the different IMS resources that are available to you can be used to the optimum so that you prepare well for your GDPI, right? Throughout the session, which should take anything about 60 to 75 minutes, depending upon the questions and the interaction that we have. Throughout the session, if you have any questions per se if you are watching this on Zoom, put it on the Q&A box and I will be able to, have a look at it separately. I will prefer the Q&A tab rather than the chat tab because it's a very structured way of looking at queries. If you are on YouTube, hi everybody on YouTube, I will try to have a look at the chat on YouTube towards the end of the session, right? So here we go. So first things first, I would say if I compare to last year, right, and more so even the year before that, due to the COVID impact, a lot of interviews and the B-School processes were happening online, right? So last year, not many B-Schools had a VAT, the written ability test happening last year. But this year, today morning, I had a look at the released processes of at least a few IIMs and other B-Schools. It looks as if most of them have brought in or brought back rather the written ability test, right? So it is going to make a comeback. So till last year, a lot of B-Schools said, okay, we just have a PI and that's the end of it. This year, it is going to be PI as well as the VAT, right? And on back of the envelope calculations, VAT will continue to have about 10% weightage across the schools this year. Second, PIs are likely to be both offline and online. So it is very possible that some B schools will have an offline interview, right? And some other B schools will go for an online interview because of the convenience it offers to the B school and also to the candidates, I would say. So it is very possible that 3 of your interviews are happening offline and 2 of your interviews are happening online. So typically CAP round interviews, for people who don't know, CAP stands for the Government Admission Process. About 10 IIMs come together, all the generation 2 and generation 3 IIMs, so for example, Udaipur, Ranchi, Raipur, all of them said, look, we can't have 10 different interviews because the candidate pool is the same. So they have a common interview, right? So you can actually get admits up to 10 different B schools on just one single interview, right? So that is possibly going to be held online, and some B schools are going to be having their PIs offline, right? So PIs in whatever format, offline and online, will have about 35 to 40% weightage across the different B school processes, right? And so you would say this is only 50%. Where is the rest 50%? The rest 50%, I would say, has already been done. Be it the weightage to the CAT score, be it the weightage to the academics, be it the weightage to the number of work months that you have, right? So 50% is going to happen now and 50% has already been done. Now I'm giving you a number based on a number of B schools, right? The exact number per B school will obviously change. And on this particular session, there are people who have already wise and have started preparing for the GDPI process right away, which is a good thing to do. Why? Because there are certain B schools that will give you very, very little time between announcement of the first call and the actual interview happening. So 2 good examples are NMIMS. So typically, if I look at last many years data points, it would say that, okay, they release the call by mid-Jan or end-Jan, and actually by 1st Feb, you already start your PI process, right? So you have in some cases a week or 10 days to start. So if you keep waiting for your call, okay, especially if you're in that borderline score, right? So for example, NMIMS last year, the cutoff for the Mumbai campus was 230. And suppose your score is 230 to 35, you are in that range. Oh, should I start preparing or should I wait and then start preparing for my VAT round or PI round? Then I would say start now, because time will be very, very short later. You can't have enough mock PIs. You can't go through all the content that is required for having a good PI. Same goes for CAP. For all the other B schools, if your B scores are in that range, so for example, if you have scored a 90 percentile plus on the CAT, you know, and you have applied to multiple places, so you know that some of the other B school will call me, be it IMT Ghaziabad or CAP, or some other B school will definitely call me. Then please don't wait for the first call to be out. I would say start preparing right now. Have time on your hand. Correct. So key learning number one, 50% of the weightage of the PI VAT round is under your control even now. 50% is done, 50% is right now. And I would say, first thing about the softer aspect of preparation, a lot of people will worry, sir, this is my profile. Then you'll post your 10, 12 graduation scores. Then you will say, sir, this is my CAT percentile. Do you think I can convert the call? Right? I would say all of this is a discussion not worth having at all. Why? Because if a B school did not like your profile, they would have not called you for the interview, right? So, one basic principle, if you are good enough to get the first call, you are good enough to convert the call, right? So, as soon as we have a call from, let's say, I am Lucknow, it means Lucknow likes you so much that they are willing to spend 30 to 45 minutes of their time on having a discussion with you. So if they're going to spend that 45 minutes with you, it means they think you are good enough to enter the institute. All right. So please do not discuss with any mentor or on any other Telegram group, on IMS groups, etc. That's this is my profile. Will I get or will I convert the call? Right? It's a waste of energy, waste of time, spreads a lot of negativity and self-doubt. Right. So I would say have just one motto. If I have a call, the first call, I can get that final call also. And please do not calculate probability. Right. Just look at the possibility. Right. So if you think, oh, 2,500 people have been called for only 100 seats, hence only one seat per 25 students, all these don't matter at this point of time. Like I said, that if you have that call, you can get into that B school, right? So I know the World Cup wounds may not have healed for everybody, but if you go to that Australia, Afghanistan match, when Glenn Maxwell had that innings of the lifetime, the probability of win for Australia was 0.21%. Right. So Glenn Maxwell did not say, oh, let me look at that 0.21%. Oh, how will I win at this point of time? I'm better not good. I'm not going to try. He just looked at the possibility of a win and he went for it. Right. So I want the same for you. You might be at that borderline score for any of the B schools. Let's say NM, you are at 233. I have seen enough and enough students over the last 20 years to say that even at 235, you can go and convert the call. There will be somebody at 250 who may have a bad day on that interview day, unfortunately for him. And you might have a very good day on 232 and you might beat him, right? So please do not get into probability calculations at all at this point of time. And remember, you just need one seat at your dream institute, right? So let the other seats be for everybody else who is on this session. For you, you just need that one seat at your institute, right? So let me have a look at the questions. If there are anything, yes. So Akshit is saying CAP haven't mentioned anything about their 24-26 session. I'm just saying it's a possibility that they might have that coming back, right? I have looked at certain institutes. They have already mentioned VAT. So for example, Lucknow has already mentioned VAT. IMA has already mentioned AWT in their processes, right? Somebody is asking about the difference between our GD-PI program, which is online and offline. So I'll give you a very simple example. I'm going to answer this only once, so please pay attention. Classroom is meant for students who are in a place where IMS center is present, right? So if you're in Mumbai, please go to any of the nearest IMS center based on your convenience and location and join them. IMS online program, the GD-PI online program, is meant for people who are in cities where IMS is not present, right? So you are in city X let's say Dhanbad, we are not present there physically yet. So if you think you are in Dhanbad and you want to be associated with us, we can't really let you not be coached by us. So you can join us online, right? Or if you are in a city where you're in Mumbai but you work night shifts, or you just can't come to any other center for whatever reasons, please go and join the online program. More or less everything remains the same. We have just made minor tweaks in terms of how many interviews you can have if you're a part of our classroom program or a part of our online program. Everything else remains absolutely the same. For example, this live session that you're watching right now is the same for both classroom and offline students, right? For classroom students, they will go to the center and have their mock PIs. They can also do practice online for interviews if required. So classroom students can do it PIs offline or online. They have that option. But for people who are doing the online program, as the name suggests, you can do only the online PIs. I hope this is very, very clear to you. Second difference, if you have joined our classroom GD-WAT program at any of the centers, your primary contact point will be that particular center. So they will tell you what is your schedule for the sessions, what is the schedule for your PIs, so on and so forth, right? So you need to be in touch with the center. If you're joining the online program, you'll be put on a group on Telegram where you'll be given the necessary information about your PIs and etc. All of that is going to be done on MyMS, so you don't really need to keep calling and SMSing everybody. But there will still be one group of on Telegram, so that it's easier coordination. So if you open PI slots, we can inform all of you that okay, PI slots have been opened, right? So let me get going now. Let me see if there are more questions. Does NMIMS have VAT? Sometimes they do have VAT. I'm not sure that they've announced the process this year. Till yesterday, they had not announced the process. They last year also had a psychometric test happening. Somebody is asking about NMIMS Mumbai cutoffs. I would say the last year cutoffs, which you have put multiple times on the groups, that is the benchmark scores. It will be plus minus 1 or 2 marks compared to last year. I don't see much of a difference compared to last year. Right. So a very interesting question. This is a good trivia question. So there is only one IIM that does not have NCOBC reservation, and that IIM is IIM Shillong. So that answers question posted by Shankar Narayan. Law. Okay. Any update on FMS? Blah blah blah. Any update on college A, B, C? Remember that as soon as the colleges announce their results, we'll put it on the 23 update channel on Telegram. That okay, B schools A has announced their results, B school B has announced the results, so on and so forth, right? So if I keep commenting upon each B school that has not opened the form, it will be a long list, right? So the Telegram channel is the place that you follow the announcements, and obviously then MyMS, because we keep updating the same information on these platform. Okay. Okay, now people asking about different vintages of each college. 2 points. One, I gave you a broad indicator. Second point, it's best to just Google if you can do that for your particular college in question as of now. And we'll obviously update it on MyMS as and when these profiles are open, right? How to do PI, how to do SOP writing, how to do VAT. Hold on, we're just starting the session. I will cover and touch upon all these bits as and when we reach there, right? Now, the softer aspect of the preparation. So I'm getting into the core of the session as of now, which is how to start your GD-WAT-PI preparation. Right now, GD might not be applicable to most of the colleges. Very, very few colleges have GD. Some colleges like NM have a case discussion, which is still a form of a GD. Some colleges like MICA and Symbiosis have what is called the group exercise. This is again one form of a GD. FMS or some other college may or may not have a GD. We will wait for clarification to emerge. IFT till some point of time did have a GD, but we'll see what happens this year, right? So I will be disclosing, or rather IMS will tell you the process, or the B school will tell you a process as and when the first calls are out. Okay. Now, my point is, if there are any gaps on your profile, you have to accept it as of now before you start preparation for your PI. Why? I'll give you an example. Right. Now, suppose in your heart you always fear that, okay, I have poor academics, I have poor academics, I have poor academics. And when you go to the interview, remember the interviewer there is somebody who is a most likely a prof of that B school. One person, second person will be an alum of that B school who will have at least 5 to 7 years of work ex. And third, somebody who is going to be silently observing the interview may have a very HR perspective on things, observing your body language, your conviction, confidence, so on and so forth. Right. My point is this panel of 3 people, in some cases 2 people, is way more intelligent than you are. So any doubt that you have in your mind, we are going to understand, okay, this guy is not very comfortable when he's talking about his academics. So they can figure out your fear, and then your fear will manifest when they start asking you questions around your academics. So my point is, if in your heart, before you enter that interview room, right, your point is, oh, I have poor academics, will I make it? I have poor academics, will I make it? It is likely that you're going to attract questions based on your poor academics, right? So suppose I have poor academics, it's a fact that I had fared poorly in my graduation exam. I am going to have a logical reason for the same, prepared for that particular eventuality. And if I'm asked that question, I'm going to answer that, okay, this is the reason for my poor academics. Okay. Remember, I told you and I repeat, if you are good enough to get the first call, you are also good enough to get the final call, right? So don't let these fears get into your mind at the point of time. Okay. And I'll give one more example here. Suppose I go and tell my interview, right? I scored 93% in my 10th standard. I scored 89% in my 12th standard. And then you say, I completed my engineering from XYZ college. Now, notice you mentioned your 10th score, you mentioned your 12th score, but you did not mention your graduation score. What does it tell the panel? That there's something wrong with his graduation score, and hence he is not telling you, because most people follow format, right? If you could put numbers, you put it for all the 3 statements, or you don't put it for any of the 3 statements, right? Hence, they now know there is something wrong on your graduation scores, and then I might ask you questions based on your graduation scores. Okay, so please accept the gap in your profile. Everybody has some gap. There is no Mr. Perfect here. Otherwise, that person would already be at some B school or maybe minting millions of dollars, right? So everybody has some of the other gaps in their preparation. Second, it is so much about your energy, right? So whenever I take mock interviews, whenever most of the IMS mentors will take mock interviews, we ask them to comment on your energy, because energy is the first thing that is noticeable in the room. Everybody wants people who are enthusiastic in their classroom. See, if I am a B school prof, when I'm interviewing you, what is my mindset? I am thinking, do I want to have this student in my classroom? Will it be fun to teach this student for 2 years, or is going to be pain in the wrong part of my body? All right. So how I'm going to do that? I'm going to look at energy. Suppose if you notice right now, I'm talking quite energetically, right? It's already almost 8 p.m. It is almost my 10th hour since I've been working this morning, right? But still my energy levels are very high. So I am assuming that if you are going to interview me, you will find me to be an energetic person, right? You will say, okay, he looks to be energetic. Let me have in this classroom. He will participate in the classroom. He will participate in my extracurricular activities. He's a good person to have in my class. But suppose I sit like this. Hi, sir. Today I am going to do your DD session. Welcome to my first session on PI. Are you going to like my session? Not at all. So similarly, on your PI, you need to show tremendous energy. And by energy, I don't mean shouting. I just mean to tell you that you should put in that effort to let the person know that, look, I'm interested in your B school. Some of us by nature are low energy, but for the sake of the interview, we'll have to be high energy, right? I'm not asking you to be high as if you are in a party or you had a wild party just the day before, right? I'm asking you to be enthusiastic in your interview. For me, it's a very important parameter, I would say, right? Next is be natural, which means do not fake accents, do not fake words that you don't use. Be honest, disclaimer wherever possible, okay? In your discussion. So it should not happen that, okay, when I meet you in the interview and when I meet you a day later, these are 2 opposite or very different personalities, right? So be very natural. So if you are by nature a little serious academic in nature, that's completely okay, right? If you think some of us are, generally a little funny, and if you think you can be funny in the interview, you can be that. But don't try to act funny out of your character in the interview. It's going to land very, very badly, right? Next, be positive. Take the PI feedback in the right stride, right? Please remember, as IMS mentors, our job, we don't like criticizing you at all. We don't like commenting on your dress code. We don't like commenting on answers, right? Sometimes we have incidents where students feel very, some students even cry during mock PIs, right? Because the questions asked are very, very pointed, and we feel that you might be asked the same questions by the interview panel also, right? So what is our job? Our job is to prepare you for the interview day, come whatever happens on that day, right? So please take the PI feedback in the right stride. Don't take it negatively. Oh, today I got was rated poor on all the 5 aspects of the PI. How will I even get it to the IIMs? Let me just give up. Okay. And I would say that's not the right attitude. Take the PI as a learning experience. If you have to make 5 mistakes, make all of them during the mock PIs and have the best day during the actual PIs. And I'm telling you, it is very, very possible that most of the questions that are you will see on your final interview, the actual interview, would have been asked in some form or the other during your mock interviews. Okay, so please take the mocks pretty seriously and please learn from them. You might have a bad day, you might have things to really work upon. So I have had students where we had to tell them, look, you are appearing to be arrogant, you're appearing to be rude in the interview. This attitude won't take you to the B school. And then they try to improve on their demeanor, at least during the interviews, and then they come off with flying colors, right? Next, communication skills matter. I'm not talking only about use of what we call as high fun to English, but I am also telling you that the way you speak, if there is, or if there is room for improvement, let's work on that, right? So if you are low on confidence, you are shy, you forget what you're saying, some practice will help, right? So if you have already identified the problem that, okay, I can't do ABC, start now and start doing it. So for example, one very common problem, I get nervous when I see a panel, right? Okay, just to make this session interactive, put a yes when on the chat box that you are very nervous. You think you'll be very nervous when you meet your interview panel. Yes, no. Right. So, oh my God, so many yeses. Kajal, Darshana, Shoshna, Radhika, Harshvardhan. Oh, wait, Pragna, Bhumika, wait. Right. So, see, so many people are already nervous. Wait, everybody. I don't want to see so many yeses. It will make me nervous that, okay, I'm starting with a group of so many nervous students. Right. So, my point is, if you feel that you're going to be nervous for the first interview, start practicing now. What is the best way to practice? Take your friend, take your father, take your mother, take your elder sister, take your little sister. Ask them, okay, this is the list of PI questions. Start asking. So your father will read out, okay, tell me about yourself. And then you go with your answer. What is your hobby? What is your career plan? So the list of common PI questions, you have faced it from your father, from your friend, from your sister, from every possible person, and hence I'm confident. A lot of times we ask students, please record. So when you speak, you keep recording on your telephone till the time you feel confident of the way you are speaking, right? Some people have to say your answer is very, very long, make it short. Some people have a monosyllabic answer that every word, every sentence, not more than 4 words, and then this is stop, right? So all these things will improve definitely with practice. I would say mark today's date, which is 18th of December, put in enough efforts on mock PI and on look at your behavior on 18th of March. You will see a dramatic turnaround in your confidence levels, in your communication. If you have taken at least 2 or 3 mock PIs with us and a couple of more practice PIs with your friends and family, right? So in 3 months, you will see that your personality has undergone that important and dramatic change, I would say. Right. Let me see if I have any questions here as of now. Okay, some people are saying, is this the right time to resign from job? 97% tentative. I would say don't resign at this point of time. Go under the interview. They say, sir, I am working. Yesterday I was at work. I was doing X, Y, Z, and right. Why resign at this point of time? Typically, when you resign, you work extra hard during your notice period, so you won't have time to prepare. So go into that interview with work under your belt, right? If possible, take leaves, go for long leaves, exhaust all your leaves, go on leave without pay. But if possible, as long as possible, don't really resign. Okay. Okay, very interesting observation that I said, okay, poor academics. So this is by an anonymous attendee. I like people who put their names. So Mr. Anonymous attendee, he says, can I be blunt in the interview that I didn't pay much attention to academics and hence I got poor score? No, I would say that's not the right technique at this point of time. So there are ways and means of telling them that you did other things, right? That is assuming you did other things. So like I said, be honest. And I said a disclaimer side, right? Which means you'll have to be honest till the time it works for you. And again, I'm not asking you to lie. It means that if you'll have to then tell them why did you not do well on academics. Maybe at the end of the session, maybe I can do 1 or 2 mock answers for you without any preparation to tell you how such a thing would work out. Okay, and like I said, please prepare for your PIs in both modes, offline and online, based on your call. So if you have an online interview coming up, it is best to prepare in an online mode. So take a couple of mocks in that online mode, right? Because the way you appear on screen, how do you project your energy, so that should happen online. And when offline, it's a very different mode. There are very different ways of judging your body language, etc. So please, if you have both interview calls in both modes, then please practice in both modes, I would say. Okay. Now let me comment on the MyMS resources. All of this remains common across whatever program you join. So there are masterclass videos that are available on your MyMS login. You have to select the course as GD-PI, right? Now, what do we have in this masterclass videos? PI, FAQs. What do I mean? Suppose you are going to prepare for a question, right? Which is tell us your strengths and weaknesses. Your first job is to go to a video on MyMS under PI masterclass where you would most likely see me telling you the do's and don'ts of how to write your strengths and weaknesses. Listen to that uh, guidelines from mine and then write your answer. In no place will I give you a template answer that, okay, all of you say this 5 strengths, don't say these 3 weaknesses. No, I'll give you only the guidelines. You are supposed to make your own answers, right? So you will save yourself and IMS a lot of trouble when you follow the guidelines, because this has come from a lot of experience of a lot of mentors. And GDPI is my personal favorite module in the entire preparation. So I put a lot of hard work. And my point is, if you follow the guidelines, it will save you a lot of rework later, right? Any question? What is your career goal? Go back to PI episodes 9 and 10. Watch the questions on guidelines on my MBA, what are career plans, and accordingly make your own answer. Any confusion? Yes, the IMS mentors will definitely help you, right? It would be a crime not to watch those videos and then ask the feedback from the IMS mentors, right? Similarly, you have master classes on what to do for GD, GE, and how to write your SOP, right? So I've given you the entire template. Okay, these are the 4 paragraphs of an SOP. Don't write this, how to do a research on a B school, so on and so forth, right? So spend some time on these and you should be fine. If you like binge watching, the entire masterclass series episodes or the entire series should not take you more than 4 hours to watch, and you are done with all the guidelines, and then maybe you can fine tune based on your requirements. And this year what we have done is all the basics of specializations, which is, let's say, the basic theory that you require for marketing. What is 4P? What is 7P? What is STP? All those things. Till last year, we used to do most of these things live online. But you realize that some of you have calls very, very early in the season. So we have put all of that in the recorded format, right? So if you are interested in marketing, finance, HR, operations, the basic things that you have to know for the interview will be put in this particular series. Under ebooks, you have 3 things again. GD-WAT Bible. So we have taken the most important 30-40 topics and written long articles on the same to save you research. Read that, and we also given you additional clickable links. So wherever you have to explore further, you can go and watch, right? So the first round of work has been done by us. So we are the improved ChatGPT. ChatGPT, I think, has information detail the particular cutoff date. The latest cutoff dates are with IMS, right? So we are the ChatGPT for GDPI, I would say. Second, go and read the PI Bible. What is PI Bible? It has all the transcripts for and FAQs from the previous years. So for example, under I am Bangalore, you'll say, okay, this interview was conducted for a student who is a civil engineer and has X number of months of work experience. So you can go through all these questions based on your own profile. And if there are questions that you don't know answers for, you should prepare for the same. Right? So very, very helpful. In fact, if I have to give you one tip for GDPI prep, please follow all transcripts. So we will have Telegram groups as always, where people keep posting the transcripts. So keep an eye on the transcripts. Whichever question you can't answer, please go and research. And imagine the same question asked to you, right? So, for example, if you read a transcript, somebody was asked to compare Mumbai and Lucknow because the person has stayed at both the places. Then you should say, okay, I have stayed in Mumbai and I've stayed in Pune. So they might ask me, please compare Mumbai and Pune, and I will create my answer. So go to transcripts, apply the same question to your own situation, and you are going to good to go, right? By the end of 100, 200 interviews and transcripts, there is nothing more that they can ever ask you, right? So that's the way of preparation. And third, nano MBA, again, this is the specialization-wise theory that you have to know the answers for, right? So in some places, we put both the question and the answer. In some places, we put only the question. So for example, under marketing, a very common question is name your favorite ad and why did you like it? Or name one product that you think was very successfully launched, right? So these questions you have to have an answer already ready so that in the interview you are not caught by surprise, right? You already have done your research on which ad do you like, why did you like it, which product was launched successfully, why do you think was it launched successfully, so on and so forth, right? So if you notice what is the underlying theme here, that you have to be, be prepared for things that are going to come, right? So be forewarned and prepared for things that might happen to you in the interview, right? The two series is, I hope some of you have watched, which is the Future You videos and the B School Insider videos. Again, if you have a call from, let's say, I am Bangalore, it would be a crime not to watch the B School Insider episode of I am Bangalore before you go to the interview, because we have covered a lot of nuances about what happens on the campus, what is the culture of the campus in that particular series, right? We are doing this series for 2-3 years now, so there's enough information for you to capture, right? So any B School you have a call, please watch the B School Insider for that B School. Any career that you're interested in, please watch the Future You videos. That was the original intent why we invest so much time, energy, effort into making these series. Next part, live sessions. We'll have live sessions in these 4 categories: foundation series, form filling series. So wherever forms, SPGMR has a very typical form, we'll tell you how to fill that form. IFT till last year used to have a very typical form, we'll tell you how to fill it, blah, blah, blah. 2 series, weekly current affairs. So we have a fantastic resource person here, Anand Sharma sir, who is from our IMS Adhyar center. Every week he will cover all the important things that have happened in the week. He'll also connect it to other important events around the world. Fantastic person. He's an encyclopedia, very lively narration. So every week he'll be there on Friday for an hour or so, which will help you cover up on the current affairs. And then topical current affairs. So very important happenings like the budget, Israel-Palestine conflict, we are going to do it live here, right? These sessions happen every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7 to 9. And yes, before you ask, recordings are going to be available on your MyMS as always. Okay. Let me see if there are any questions I need to take up at this point of time. A lot of people asking about should I quit job? I've already answered that question, that as of now, please do not quit jobs as long as possible. Very interesting question from Roshan. In PI, do candidates have a disadvantage who have less CTC? Honestly, they don't really look at your CTC, is my reading. As of now, they're more worried about your profile and your work experience in terms of number of. See, a lot of questions around gap year. So I did X and hence I have a gap year. I did Y and hence I have a gap year. So again, I put up a video on PM Masterclass that how do you justify your gap years. So again, I'm not giving you a reason that all of you follow template, but how do you think about a gap year is clearly mentioned there. Except that you have a gap year, as I mentioned in my previous slides, have a logical reason for the same and move on. Let this question not trouble you so much. Right. Okay, now coming to the 7 bucket method. Okay, now what is the 7 bucket method? Now, when it comes to preparation for PI, to a very large extent, PI and also it will cover VAT preparation. there are a lot of things to do, right? So, people too tend to get disorganized. So some people you will find that they read only newspaper for 2 hours a day. Some people will go only back to your academics and do only academics, not do anything else, etc., etc. So what we have done is to help you structure your preparation. I put this three headings, which is self, your world, and the world, right? And all the possible interview buckets. Buckets are the areas on which they can ask you questions. I put them into these three headings. So under self, there are two buckets. Under your world, there are three buckets, so on and so forth, right? So what is your end goal? Your end goal is to ensure that these 7 buckets that you see on the screen, know thyself, career goals, blah, 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 you are well prepared to handle the same, right? And hence you prepare accordingly. In some cases, you might have to read our resources, example, GD Bible. In some cases, you might have to go back to your academics. In some cases, you might have to do research online. In some cases, you have to just introspect. So you have to ensure, so this is your checklist, right? That, okay, can or have I done enough work on all these 7 buckets? No bucket can be ignored completely. As simple as that. I hope I have made myself very, very clear at this point of time. And I'm going to get into each bucket now. Now, coming to the first bucket, or rather the pre-work there, what is your starting steps? First, now B schools don't ask for resumes. Let me make it clear. But it is a great idea to have a resume for yourself. Why do I say so? Because see, resume, and I insist you make only a one-page resume, like it is the rule in most of the B schools now, right? When you have to make a one-page resume, you will bring out the highlights for yourself. So, for example, when I was applying for B school, which was way back in the year 2003, 20 years ago, right? At that point of time, I was good at acads. I had no work ex, and I had tremendous extracurricular activity. So I knew that, okay, if I have to crack any interview, my focus will be on extracurricular activities. Okay, I would like them to talk more on that area, and if they want, they can go to acads. But I might have excelled at academics, but I may not know in-depth answers to some questions in certain subjects, right? So I made my resume. So you know that, okay, I can write only these 5 points under extracurriculars, or I will have only 3 points under work ex, right? So the resume will help you figure out what is your highlight. If you can't have more than one page, can also go reverse that, okay, I can't fill up a one page. So then you know that in that case, you might have a very academic driven interview. So I better be prepared for academics, right? So I have a resume, very, very important. These days, it's so easy to figure out the resume format, get it formatted online using ChatGPT and other things, right? So I have a resume in place. Second, have written stories. Now, what do I mean? Now, a lot of B schools, either in their SOPs, essay type questions, or in the interviews, they are looking for certain traits. How do you answer those questions? You will have to refer to certain life incidents. So, for example, I might ask you a question, right? Tell me about a time that where you successfully led a team. Was that event a success or a failure? And what were the learnings? Now, this question, example of leading a team, was it a success or a failure, and the learnings, right? Now, these questions with slight variations appear on a lot of things. For example, I've seen this variant on the SPGMR form. I have seen this being a part of SOPs and so on and so forth, right? Now, my point is, I would want to think through your most 5 to 8 important life incidents, which you think I am going to come discuss, right? So, for example, I work for an NGO. I, in fact, co-founded an NGO with my group of friends when I was in college, just before, and I'm talking pre-MBA interview. I knew that within the first 2 minutes, this panel will know that I've started an NGO. So, for example, if you ask me, okay, tell me a leadership experience, I will bring it to, okay, I did this leadership experience. You ask me happiest moment of my life, I'm going to bring it to, okay, this happened during my NGO and this was my happiest moment of my life. Okay, you ask me what is your example of event failure, management failure, I'm going to bring it down to, okay, this event at my NGO, I did something and hence it didn't work, so I learned a lot of things, right? Any questions you ask me in the first three questions, you will be at my NGO discussion. Right? Somebody, suppose you are a tremendous achiever at work, right? You have won the employee of the quarter, employee of the year, promoted twice, blah, blah, blah. You have to let the panel know, look, I'm a very, very good employee at my work, right? So how do you do that? Because you will have to have a list that come what may, these five things the panel will know when they talk to me. For example, if you are a poet, the panel should know. So I hope I give you enough examples, right? Some people make the mistake that, okay, they have right leadership experience, successful event. If the panel will not ask the question, I will not narrate that I had this experience. Whereas I'm telling you that you have to figure out that whatever the question is, I will bring my leadership experience into the play at this. I hope I am making sense here, right? And next might sound long, laborious, boring, tedious, blah, blah, blah. But you will have to have written answers to the PI FAQs that I mentioned in the masterclass series, which is available on Minds. Now you might think, okay, I will have an answer in my head, you know, or I will write bullet points. But I would say if you want to do a good job here, please have written answers, right? Why do I say that? Now take a question as simple as introduce yourself, right? Now, some of my thing was so simple. And if I ask you to start, I can guarantee you half of you won't be able to speak for even 15 seconds. Half of you will speak for 45 seconds, but some of it, some more important parts you would have missed, and some crap that you should not speak would have spoken. All right. So I know that most of my B-School interviews are going to start with introduce yourself, right? So why can't I have multiple answers, where I introduce myself in 45 seconds, in 30 seconds, in 15 seconds, in one word, as a Twitter bio, my Instagram, whatever, handle, whatever, right? So have these answers written so that the structure is very, very clear, right? Because this is mostly the first question. Some of us are going to be a little nervous. So if you are prepared, and you will be a lot more confident. You will not forget that, okay, I co-founded an NGO in that particular case, right? Again, I'm not asking you to memorize each word. I'm asking you to have a structure that this is sentence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now, all of this might seem like hard work, but believe me, this is going to be the foundation on which everything else is going to be dependent on, right? If you do this, for example, incidents are clear. So many B-School form fillings is going to be straightforward. That, okay, I need to pick up answer number 2, 3, 5. If you have the written answers to PI FAQs, in fact, at IMS, we ensure that you can't have your first mock PI without this, right? Then all the interviews are going to flow very, very easily, because you don't want to have an interview and your only feedback is, oh, you didn't speak about your work at all, right? It's such a waste of a mock interview process. Okay. And once you have done this, which means you have your resume in place, you have written live incidents and the answers to your PI FAQs, I would want you to do two things, which is do a role play and generate questions from each word or sentence. What do I mean by this? Suppose, okay, and we can do this live with one of you doing it on chat. Suppose I ask you to introduce yourself. Okay, and you say, like a lot of people say, whether right or wrong, it's a matter of a different discussion altogether. Some people say, I was born and brought up in Mumbai. Okay, so what do I want to do? Now play the role of a panelist and think what questions can you ask. Now the word here, what was the key operating word here? Mumbai. So tell me what questions can ask you from Mumbai. Can you just give me a couple of examples on the chat, not on the Q&A? If what are the questions that you can think when I think of when I say Mumbai? So somebody says, what do you like about Mumbai? Great question. Why is it called the city of wait, too fast. Why did Mumbai is called the city of dreams? Why is Mumbai called Mumbai? How does Mumbai stand out? Three places that you like me to go. Best street food in Mumbai. Who is the chief minister? How many MLAs? Who is the home minister? So on and so forth. Right? Things that you don't like from Mumbai. Great. So three biggest problems of Mumbai. All these are brilliant questions, right? So see, just wait. Chirag has an interesting question. I must narrate this question. Would you prefer IIM Mumbai over other IIMs? So great question, Chirag. Right. So my point is, now when I've written my written answers, I will take the word Mumbai and prepare for all these questions. Right. Now I'll tell you my favorite question. When somebody says Mumbai, and since I'm also from Mumbai, I will ask, okay, which place are you from? Suppose somebody, and Vile Parle is my favorite example. Okay, so anybody here from Mumbai, from Vile Parle, I'm leaking one question to you that can come to in a mock interview. Okay, why is Parle called Parle? Okay, anybody from Parle here can answer that, Vile Parle? It's a long shot being in a national. Um, Okay, Sakshi is from Parle, and I knew she would answer this. Suwan is also from Parle, so others can take the gist, but so both of them said, and even okay, a lot of people from Mumbai and Parle here. So hi to all of you. Trisha is also there. Parth is also here. Wait. So all of them have said Parle-G factory. It's the wrong answer, right? So please remember, the place was called Ville Parle first, and then Parle-G factory came to Ville Parle, right? You can't have the factory first and then the place being named after it, right? It will be very, very funny. So it's so most people say Parle factory, but that's not the right answer. Similarly, you can do this for the respective cities, respective areas. So you should know why what is famous in a city and why is it called so. Okay. The right answer is based on a temple in Ville Parle. Go and Google it. I'm not going to tell you the right answer, right? So I hope you got the gist. Take any answer. Okay, so for example, suppose you would say, I like dancing. Okay. Now, can you think of the possible questions that I can ask you around dancing? Just start thinking about those things, right? Yeah, so various dance forms. So which dance form do you like? Who is the famous dancer from that particular genre of dance? How do you practice dance, in the sense, are you a certified dancer, do it only for fun, blah, 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 right? Your favorite dancer, uh, who inspired you, blah, blah, right? So see, again, you are doing a fantastic job narrating these things on the chat. So I really like the spirit, but I hope you got the gist of what I'm trying to say. Okay, Aditya also has a good question. How is your dancing? Is it going to add you to your application to my B school? Okay. So you can say, okay, I'm a part of a dance team and I ensure you get gold medals when you go to festivals ABC. At this point of time, you can show off your B school knowledge by saying, okay, I know you have a festival called Umad. If you're from I am Bangalore, and I will participate there, and I will get ensure that we stand first. Correct. Footloose at I am Ahmedabad, so on and so forth, right? So that's the basic method I would want you to adopt. Generate questions from whatever you say. Right. Now coming to the first bucket. Now once this is known, everything else will fall into the same structure. So what is bucket one? Bucket one is tell me about yourself, strength, weaknesses, all HR related questions. Biggest achievement and failure. Where I say HR related to your personal life incidents and behavioral questions. How do you react in XYZ situation? Okay. Fit stories and qualities. Like I said, use stories wherever possible. Incidents from your life. When I say story, it has to be real. Okay, not fictional. Okay. So how do you do this? One word for this particular task is to introspect. Right. You have to think deep. Some of you will struggle to figure out your strengths, achievements, failures. So do introspect. How do you use IMS for this? You'll have to figure out, look at the PI masterclass to help you build the answer, and the PI Bible will give you a list of questions that are generally asked under the bucket. Know yourself, right? Again, let me give an example. People who have unique names. Okay, anybody here having a unique name? Type in your name. Acha, I saw some name. Wait. Unique. Wait. This is going too fast. Okay, Tamanna is not a unique name in my opinion. Okay, so too many. Maid Kriti, right? So Maid Kriti, I hope I read your name first, right? So Maid Kriti, I'm sure you've asked this. Why your name so, right? And it looks very funny. You say, oh, I don't know. You've been living with your name for 25 odd years now, and then you say, Zehra is also a unique name. Sanjana is, in my opinion, not a unique name, but Sanjana can still think why were you named Sanjana. So you should ask yourself why your name so, right? So have a story. So for example, if you ask me why I was named Hemang, I will tell you, okay, see, there are different way of answering this. Okay, again, leads to an example. Somebody say, okay, my name is Hemang. I was named so by a person XYZ. Okay. Somebody say, okay, I don't know. So to opportunities for interesting discussion, but both went flat. And then you can say, okay, there's a very interesting story behind my name. This name was given to me by this person. Okay, you will not know that person, so I'm just using XYZ. And what does the name mean? So you can say my name Hemang has three different meanings. One of them is also one of the names for Lord Vishnu. The 108 names are given to him. One of them is also that name. It also means him, Ang, so it means body of gold, right? So then you can expect if I talk Vishnu. Now, when I'll say this, because if I know I'm going to be able to talk about this. If you think you can't talk about this, don't use that. Use some other stories, so on and so forth, right? Then you can say, okay, there's only one more person who is more famous, which is Hemang Badani, a former international cricketer for India. Depends upon your name. Yes. So Lavanya is a common name, but LO, Lavanya makes it unique. I would agree, right? Yes, yes. So a lot of unique names. I hope you got what I'm trying to say here, right? And see, PI is a great fun area to talk about because you can always have stories and examples. So I will use only this example and now move on to the next one. Now, bucket two, very important bucket, career goals. Correct. The most dreaded, feared question: why MBA and where do you see yourself in 5 years? Right now, these questions form the heart of the career goal questions. Don't be like this person in the cartoon when you are asked this particular question. Please watch these two episodes 9 and 10 to help you give an answer. Let me get a warning. The worst possible answer, especially if you're a fresher. I'm here to explore in the 2 years of MBA. I'll explore marketing, finance, HR, operations, and then I will decide that which area to choose. That answer may have worked 15, 20 years ago. Right now, this answer does not work in my personal opinion, in the opinion of most IMS mentors. Why? Because there are so many resources available now that if you're interested in marketing, you could have explored books, you could have explored YouTube, you could have watched so many other case studies and understood more about marketing, right? You don't need to spend 2 years and 25 lakhs on an MBA to understand, oh, I actually like marketing, but I don't like finance. Okay. So I will use MBA as exploration is not making sense at this point of time. You might say marketing now, maybe during the actual MBA, you shift to finance, which is completely all right. But do have a starting point as of okay. I hope again, if there's two things you have to pick from this thing, this would be my second thing is ensure do not say I'm going to explore during my MBA. MBA is meant for people who have already explored and made their decision, right? And like I said, you can speak to seniors, friends. Now we have the B-School Insider series, the Future You series. So many resources available for you to figure out your answer. And it is possible that you write your answer, your IMS mentor will be looking at your SOPs, your PI answers might say, okay, this answer is not working for you. Completely scrap it and come up with a new answer. So a lot of hard work is going to be required at this particular point of time. Okay, buckets 3 to 5. So bucket 1 was know yourself. Bucket 2 is your world, which means things around you, which will depend upon your profile, your likes and dislikes. Now, first thing is acads. Please brush up on your fundamentals and in depth in 2 or 3 subjects. Okay, so I don't need to tell you which subjects. You should know that based on your particular course that you have selected, you'll have to be prepared for the same. So I can, as a panel, expect that you are a BCom student, hence you will know the basics of accounting. So I can ask you name the 3 golden rules of accounting, right? Or I will expect that you know the basics of mechanical engineering, so on and so forth. Or I will ask you, I'll be nice to you and okay, which is your favorite subject? You say economics. Then okay, so let's talk economics. No, so that is if you have a good, lovely liking panel. Some people like me, if you say okay, which are your favorite subjects? I'll ensure that I don't ask you those subjects, but ask you everything else, right? So, which panel you draw on that day is a matter of luck. Your job is to be completely prepared. Now, for freshers, or rather, I would say for acads, the depth and subjects is largely driven by the panel, right? So, how much deep I can go into academics, how much I ask you is depend upon the panel. Okay, now for freshers, remember that your if unless you have some extra courage to back your discussion, it will be mostly around academics. For people who have work ex, now if you have more than 2 years of work ex, I would say on a general basis, you will have less of ACADS, more of work-driven discussions. But there can be a few exceptions here and there. And if you are just started your work, 0 to 6 months, then you are in no man's land. You will have to prepare both for ACADS and also for questions related to your work, right? So this is a very big bucket in terms of the time required to prepare. For some of us, it is going to be brush up on the fundamentals. For some of us, it is going to be read your textbooks for the first time ever for the interview. Okay. We have made things quite easy for you by listing down the questions under the PI Bible. But remember that is a starting point, not the end point. Okay. Now, second bucket is around work. So know everything about your role, your company, and an industry. So, for example, if you are working in, let's say IT, so you should know that what work are you doing right now? What does your company do? So if you are in, say, working with Infosys, who is the current chairman, CEO? What is the model that you use? What is the latest financial statements? You don't need to worry about everything, but broad numbers. How many employees do you have? What is the 3-year goal for your company? All of that has to be read. And your industry, which are the 3 big drivers of an industry. ये सब तुमको पढ़ना पड़ेगा, right? This is a must, I would say, right? So keep reading about work. One very good place if you are working in a listed company, go through the annual reports where the CEO would have given his view on the company, the competitor, the future projects, so on and so forth, right? But you should know all of this. And again, like I said, don't wait for the discussions to go to your work. You will have to use examples from your work wherever possible. So again, if I ask you a strength and your strength is, let's say, detail oriented, then give me an example built in that, okay, at work, how did you use your strength to make sure you excel at your work, right? That example should make it very clear that you are a work ex guy. Okay, for me, how do I differentiate between a fresher and a work ex guy? Is by the difference in examples, right? A person who is working, all the examples, all or almost all should flow from work ex. A person with a fresher may not have work ex or will not have work ex, and hence his answers will come from other domains like event I managed, college festival I have done, so on and so forth, right? Third is hobbies or extracurricular activities. We are do three things: either read, demonstrate, or practice. Now, what do I do? Now, see, my first advice here is define your niche as clearly as possible, right? So, for example, if I say hobbies, don't say cricket. Now, what does cricket mean? Do you watch cricket? Do you play cricket? Do you read about cricket? Okay. Do you follow only T20? Do you follow only IPL? Do you follow test match or do you follow one day? Correct. Lot of things are possible, right? So, for example, I actually consume more articles on cricket rather than I watch it because I find watching it would be too time consuming. So I would have read almost all articles on cricket. Correct. I have not played cricket for multiple years now, but I would have read articles on cricket. Right. So I will say that okay, I like to watch or read about cricket. If you like to play, there's so many people who play cricket every weekend, but they may not know what's happening in the current series between two teams. Right. That's completely all right. So you say I play cricket, or somebody might say, okay, I played cricket on a right up till the Ranji Trophy or state district level. You have to mention that. Again, don't say singing or don't say dancing. Right? Say that I like to do ABC. Be clear in your niche. Don't say reading. Say I read ABC. If you read only certain genres, right? So define your niche so that they will talk only about that niche, and not somebody else. Now within that niche, you have to read. For example, cricket. So example is what is the height of the stumps? What is the weight of the ball? How many ways in which a batsman can be declared out? Uh, who was the latest batsman to be given or the only batsman to be given timeout? All of that you should know, right? Don't say, oh, how can they ask? So if you're an fast bowler, give me the scientific principle on how does the ball swing. Correct. Demonstrate. If you're a singer, be prepared to sing. If you write your own poems, be ready to narrate a poem. Right. Don't be caught by surprise. No, he asked me to sing. You said you're a singer, so he can ask you to sing. In fact, take it like a privilege that you are asked to perform. Right. Uh, Practice. You can't say, okay, you said I like playing the piano, but I have not played the piano for 10 years now. Okay, so if you're going to say piano, practice for it. Otherwise, don't say it at all. I hope I have made myself pretty clear here. So read the basic stuff. For example, if you say badminton, top rated players from India, top rated players from the world, uh, read all of that. Right? If you say drawing, name 5 Indian artists, name 5 international artists, name the 5 people who have their auction, the drawings auctioned at the highest possible price. If you again like poem, difference between a limerick uh, and a sonnet, like what is a 14-line poem called, all of that you should be able to answer. Again, this might look like work, but this has to be done because they're trying to figure out, are you talking genuinely about a hobby or is it a fake hobby just for the sake of the interview? So, for example, a classic, mistake, I think many people make it. Uh, because people say, okay, most managers read, and then people say, okay, I am a reader, and that's okay. So if I ask you, which books have you read? You will say Alchemist, and you say One Minute Manager. These are like really thin books. Okay. Then I say, okay, and what more? And then people stop. So this guy is not a reader. He has never read. Just for the interview, he has read 2 books and come to the interview. Maybe he's not even read 2 books. He has generated a summary on ChatGPT. Right. So if you're a reader, it is very clear that you would have read multiple things in your life. Then I will ask you about your favorite author, top 3 books that you have read, what are you reading recently, so on and so forth. Right. So don't fake your hobby. Point one. Point two, you'll have to read around that hobby for you to make a substantial case and get brownie points on the interview. Right. What is your task in one word? You'll have to prepare. And again, you can look at the PI Bible from the most common questions around these 3 areas. Right. Okay, the final buckets, the world around you. Okay, now when I say world around you, this is going to be similar for almost all of us, right? So, for example, GK and current affairs, which is contextual. Now, contextual means it is for the questions that it might be based on your situation. For example, suppose your interview is going to be, was held, let's say, a month ago, where there was a state elections in certain states like Rajasthan. So I would expect a person from Rajasthan to know a lot more about elections in Rajasthan than I would expect somebody from, let's say, Maharashtra to comment on it. But even the guy from Maharashtra should know that the election happened in Rajasthan and this guy won and the reasons for the win, he should. But the guy in Rajasthan will have a lot more or is expected to have a lot more details. Right. Now, for most of you who will have interviews in March, April, May, that will be the time where it is possible that the Lok Sabha elections would have been announced and a lot of things would be moving a direction. So then you will have to know I would say the batch of 24 will have a lot more questions around the civics area, which is what is the difference between Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha? How is the different? What is the power of the Lok Sabha? What is the power of the Rajya Sabha? What is the qualification for a member of the Rajya Sabha? Who is your MLA? Who is your MP? What is the difference in the roles they perform? Which party is in your state? Who do you think define the good chief minister? Should we have a democratic democracy or should we have one benevolent dictator? All these questions will come to almost all of you because we are in that zone where politics is going to be in the air. So if you don't know anything about civic, start reading as of now. You should know the structure. We are also going to have a session on the basics of civics that some people might have not studied way back in their school, right? So A, things that are contextual to you. B, things that everybody should know. Right. So for example, you can't say, oh, I don't live in Israel, so I don't know what is happening in Israel and Palestine. All of us should know what's happening in Israel Palestine. All of us will have to know what's happening with the COP28 conference that has just have happened. Right. Now the details might matter, or you might know 3 things, I might know 5 things, but all of us should know what these important things. Right. Again, AI, Chat GPT, anything that you do, all of us should know that how it is going to impact your work, in the future. And I would say this is my layer of importance. Perspective greater than opinion, greater than facts. Now, for example, some people like to memorize facts. Okay, that okay, in my area, this party had X number of seats won, Y number of seats lost. They'll get into details of each one. So those are facts which I can Google, right? More important than that is opinion. That if you tell me why did this party win X number of seats and why, what did it do right to get this particular win, right? And perspective is where you can draw in, certain interesting articles, opinions from some leaders that you have read, which will help you build your answer. Right? This is a very thoughtful answer. Opinion is I feel. Perspective is that I have done this research and hence these are my very nuanced understanding of the situation. So perspective is greater than opinion, opinion is greater than facts. I can forgive you if you forget one or two small things. Obviously, there are some common names. Who is the chief minister, president, vice president, speaker of Lok Sabha? I'm sure everybody knows the prime minister, but not everybody will know the president. And definitely not everybody will know the vice president. Definitely not everybody will know the speaker of the Lok Sabha. So these are basics. Right. So those, if you miss, it's a mistake. But some other things that everybody will not remember all the crops that are grown in your state. That's okay. Remember, this is an interview for MBA, not for UPSC. We want to check if you have direction and clarity of thought. So, current affairs should not become your only activity that you do for GD-PI. It has its place, but it's not the only thing that you do for your preparation. So, importance for UPSC is very different from importance to MBA. Hence, a lot of people, when they put on groups, UPSC current affairs daily, I think it's a waste of time. You don't need to go into those many things as of. Correct. What is your task list? You'll have to read 2 general newspapers. In shorts, it's definitely not enough. In 3 lines, it is just the intro, not the topic. And I would say that you subscribe to FinShots. It's a free newsletter, very interesting, made for people who are just about learning about business and management. So I have recommended it to enough people, and I'm sure a lot of you are also using it. And obviously, GD-WAT Bible. So you have the thoughts given to you there with links. So keep exploring more in that particular zone. Yeah. Now, important points. Remember, not all buckets are equally important. Figure out your balance. Right. So I gave you the 7 buckets. For you, maybe ACADS is a very important bucket because you're not done, because you're fresher and you don't have enough things on extracurriculars. So for you, 2 buckets. So know yourself is common for everybody, but for this person, along with yourself, 2 buckets become important, which is academics and let's say contextual around your world, right? Somebody who is working, maybe work will take away some weightage, extra weightage from academics. So he'll has to work on that. For some of you, there is so much that you have done in your life. Your profile is very good. So maybe they will not ask you too much of ACADS, but they will focus on your extracurriculars, right? So know what can be asked to you based on your profile. So once you create your resume, once you do a couple of interviews with your friends and mock interview, okay, that when people interview me, they typically tend to ask me only these 5-6 things. They don't tend to ask me these other 3 things, right? I've said this again. I repeated, current affairs is a part and not the only PI prep required, right? So some these schools may be focused on current affairs. Some interviews have no current affairs at all. Okay, some have contextual current affairs. So it differs from panel to panel, person to person. So this is your checklist. So I've just put all the 7 buckets here so that you have this one. Take a screenshot of this one screen and create your checklist. Okay, I now have completed know thyself. I can answer variable questions. I have to do so much work in academy. So this is your 1-page checklist that you have to keep working on. And based on mock PI, you will say, okay, this time I completely flopped on academics, but I did reasonably well on work. Next time you work on ACADS, then maybe both will become ticks, but they'll say, okay, you're not still because your hobbies. So then you say, okay, now I have to work for my hobbies, right? I would say take your first mock PI when you have done enough work on everything that you have mentioned so that your first mock PI goes well, okay, unless you're really short on time. Okay, summary, start preparation now, and you guys have already done that. Softer aspects that I discussed, all energy, communication skills matter. Be a master of your content and definitely have fun in the entire process, because in my opinion, it is the most memorable uh, module that you will do. A lot of stories get generated. A lot of us mentors also have a great time discussing. इसने इंटर में ये बोला, this is what was said, so on and so forth. So great fun, everybody, and have a positive attitude. Like I said, don't look at probability, look at possibilities. I am 100% sure that once you prepare well and you have those calls, there is one seat for you at your B school. With that belief, if you enter the GDP season and work hard for the next 6 to 12 weeks, I'm sure you'll have a great outcome, right? So I will have a look at the questions now. If there are things that I have not answered, I would request you to post it back on the Q&A chat box, on the Q&A tab, and not the chat box. Okay. So let me check now. Okay. Zahra is asking us, will they ask us to show proof? Yeah, Zahra, for most things you should have proofs. So, basically in India, a lot of people have what is called Jugaad, which is a software way of saying that people cheat a lot. So if you just say, okay, I have worked for the UN for 3 months, but I don't have certificate, I am not going to believe. Right? So you better get a certificate for most things that you can get a certificate for. So you have worked for NGO, ask them to give you a certificate. If you have worked, you will obviously have salary slips, you will have offer letter. If you have won something, you'll have a certificate or a medal. Now, certain things don't have proofs. For example, if you are a house captain, right, you may not have a proof of that, but it will come through with your answers, right? So wherever you can get a proof, please do get a proof there. Mayank is asking me, can I get this PPT? Yes, Mayank, it will be uploaded on my MS. I would say latest by day after. Anonymous says, I don't have a hobby. What should I say? So Anonymous, I really, without looking at your profile, I can't really comment. But don't fake reading at least for your hobby, because you'll be caught immediately. Masterclass videos, Aniket, we have put up a schedule of availability, which is everything will get uploaded in the next 10 days or so, broadly. Something will happen before that. Okay. Especially for current affairs, because these things have just happened. We'll put them up next week. Interesting question. Will the panel be from my field? Very interesting question. Yes, I would say both cases happened. I go to great pains to match the panel with the profile of the student, right? So, for example, you should not ever assume that I know stuff in finance and the other guy will not. He is a prof at a B school. He has taught for 10, 20 years. So he knows stuff that you don't know, right? A lot of places he might be author of books, he might be consulting companies, and you might think, so he might pretend that he has not understood your answer. But when you go back and Google him, you know that this guy has written the book that I am reading from, right? So never assume that the panel will not, rule number one. Second, things like hobbies, again, they try to match, but they reasonably know what questions to ask. Unless you come from a you have a very different hobby, in that case, they are ways to understand. So, for example, I consider myself to have limited experience as compared to these B school professors, right? But again, I'm not an engineer. I don't have all the hobbies that you guys talk about, right? But from your answers, I can make out that are you fibbing or are you genuinely doing what you're saying, right? Engineers, sometimes I only from the way they narrate their answers, I can figure out whether the answer is right or not. And I am just, I would say, nothing in front of the B school panels, right? So if I can correctly assess you, they will definitely be able to assess you, right? I am not going to comment on which calls will I get. I mentioned multiple times, not the right question to ask. I will not comment on if I convert, which school should I select, right? These are questions for much later. Don't count your chickens before they're hatched. Don't count your calls before they're converted. As simple as that, right? So all these questions on the chat, on Telegram, on chat, on Q&A, I'm going to completely ignore, right? Right now, focus on conversion. Once you convert, I will have a 30-minute discussion with you why you should take A over B if that's required, but not at this point of time, right? For a basic understanding of B school categorization, please go to the B school zone where we have mentioned IMS category of each B school. We have rated about 200 programs, correct? So we are not saying only IMA, we are saying IMA, MBA is different from IMA, FABM program, right? And we have put a category there. So if you want to have a first look of which college is better, that's the place to go. Laksh has asked that question again. So Laksh, the entire GDPI comprehensive module is a part of the program for all classroom enrolled students, because when you join the program, it was a part of a program. So in a way, you already paid for it. For everybody else, which is live online, self-learning and test series, correct? These students have to now enroll for GDPI because that was not of their program, right? This is, if you don't remember your program or whether this was a feature that you were given, you can go back to your prospectus, your mails, and you will know that, right? So broadly, two categories of students don't need to enroll separately for GDPI classrooms and Catapult Elite. Everybody else needs to enroll. Now the next person asks, sir, how does the refund process work? We have said there's a certain fee. I think it's around 8,000 to 9,000 for the two programs that we offer, the classroom program and the online program. Based on your first calls from the IMs, certain rewards will come to you. I think it is 3,000 rupees. If you finally convert the IM calls, any IMs, whether you join it or not, if you convert, we give you 5,000 rupees reward, right? So basically, people who go into the details of pricing, that's how it will work. The refunds will come to you in the month of, we'll do 2 rounds in month of April or May, or broadly, again, depending upon the B school calls, right? So that's how it works. Any more details, you can go to the website and check, right? So I said this is the X fees, and these are the two possible refunds based on if you are going to enroll for GDPI separately based on the first call and based on your final call, right? So Laksh, I've answered your question. Somebody is asking, sir, can I elaborate on the VAT process? Do I have to write or type? If it is a offline place, you'll have to write. If it happens online, then you'll have to type. I remember during the COVID period, MM had people write on a Word doc, which was monitored, by a supervisor, right? So all that things will happen. SOP, yes, there are resources on SOP available on my MS that you can refer to and write your SOPs. You can also get in touch with your IMS mentors who will then review your SOP, and then you can finalize and submit to the B school. For people who already have good score on NMIMS, good score is defined as 235 or above. With all the sections cleared, I would say don't wait for the call. Get your SOPs done right now, because right now both you and our mentors have a little more time to have a look at the SOPs. Closer to the date, there will be a huge line of people waiting for their SOPs to be done. What about the interview dates? Yes, so a lot of interviews will happen starting Feb, I would say. Feb, March is the peak season. It is possible that you have interviews happening, 3 interviews in a single week, sometimes 2 interviews in a day, sometimes 1 interview in Feb. Your last interview happens in the month of April. All possibilities are open. So you're in for an exciting ride. You'll have to beg, plea if your interviews clash. If you're in that unfortunate position, you'll have to keep begging both the districts, please change my date, please change my date. All of that will keep happening. But Feb, March is the hottest period for interviews happening. It then tapers down, right? Okay, some people asking what does a VAT entail? Very, very common question. So I'll take that question. So VAT is written ability test. Here, closest equivalence is I can draw is to essay writing in your school. I can give you a very general topic. So, for example, a topic can be the impact of AI in the current world, where you start writing about AI, or it can get very, very specific, where I asked, or I again, general topic can be uh, uh, who are better managers, men or women, right? Uh, it can get very, very specific, which means I can start asking you about particular topic. So, what is your view on ABC, right? Uh, uh, for example, COP28, the conference on climate change that just happened, right? I would say, okay, what is your, what do you think will be the impact of COP28, and what do you think should be India stand? Now, if you don't know what is COP28, or you don't know what is India stand, only God can help you with that, right? So all the articles that you read will also help you for your VAT, will also help you for your PI. Somebody is asking me about difference between VAT and AWT. AWT at IMA is more based on critical reasoning type of paragraphs. They are based on the quality of question that used to be asked on GMAT. Don't worry, at IMS we will conduct a session on how to do AWT. Right? Okay, interesting question. How to dress up for PI? I will rather focus on what should you dress up, right? How I leave it to you. So what do you wear for your PI? Absolute formals. Girls have a lot of options: Indian formals, Western formals, etc. Guys will have to, only one option: Western formals as of now. Uh, in my opinion, tie and blazer absolutely must. Uh, Even though a lot of people will tell you that okay, we don't wear blazers, we don't wear ties, and some people say it's so hot in my city. Why should I wear a blazer? Why should I wear a tie? In my opinion, these are risks worth not taking. Suffer for heat for 10 minutes, but have that done. In case of online PIs, the rules slightly relaxed. So you may avoid wearing a blazer, but you should definitely have a tie. If you can wear a blazer, nothing like that. Right? Remember to be at the best of your preparation. And see, you don't want to interview start on a negative note, right? Okay, why are you not properly dressed for it, right? It Your dressing up shows intent that this interview really means a lot for you. And I would see, as long as possible, whenever you go for your mock PIs, be dressed formally so that you get to used to it. Right? So the first time ever in your life you're wearing a tie is on the day of your actual IMA interview. It's not a great, you get some used to it. You need time, so you should go to your mock PI dressed as if you're going for your actual PI. That will really help you. Now, since you've asked about dressing, I gave you just the rules, formal both ways for men and women. And the debate for the current generation is should you be well shaven or not. So we'll leave that to another day. Uh, on people who have put a lot of effort in maintaining their beard, what should they do with the same? Okay. Yeah. So I think I have taken most of the questions. If anything is pending, please put it on the question tab right away. Last couple of minutes, we can still interact. People who have taken breaks for any other thing like UPSC, blah, 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 you need to answer that. And then can they ask you about your choices and UPSC are a little bit of general knowledge? Definitely, yes. Sectional cutoff and MIMS, I just mentioned that more or less the last year numbers will remain true. Maybe it will be a plus minus 2 marks from last year. Where will college hold their PI? So while you filled up the IM form, they had asked you to select the city um, where you prefer your interviews to happen. Other colleges, they have the list of cities. So people who stay in the slightly smaller towns, you will have a lot of travel. And unfortunately, none of the B schools will adjust your PI schedule. So you can say, okay, look, I am coming to Bombay. Why don't all the 4 B schools arrange my interviews during that one stay in Mumbai? So you might have to be in Mumbai, go back, come back, etc., etc. So yes, that is one reason why certain B schools have also shifted to online interviews. Makes it easy for both the parties. But as a rule, most B schools will not accommodate any preferences from your side unless it's an IM interview clashing with an IM interview, right? But if you ask any other interview, okay, I have my brother's wedding, can I come 2 months later, etc., most B schools will refuse, right? But you can still try if you have lots of time in your hand. Okay, online interviews, how to tackle backgrounds, etc. We'll go into details later. Don't worry, as of now, right? So I hope this session was helpful to you. Uh, I have created, I hope I've created the structure for you to figure out how do you go about preparation. Okay. Obviously, for some of you, this might look too much that, oh, I have to do A, B, C, D. Yes, that has to be done. But my intent here was to give you a structure to your preparation, right? In my opinion, once you have done the ACADS um, uh, well, and you've taken a mock or two, then it goes into an auto mode where you are just reading on the current affairs and following the transcripts on whatever Telegram channels we are going to run. Okay, then it becomes maybe an hour or two daily. But at the start, it's going to be intense because you'll have to do a reading on the CADs and the GDPI Bible. Do attend the live sessions. In case you miss those, you can always attend the recorded or watch the recorded sessions, right? So, uh, I hope this time was eventful, good learning. I enjoyed a lot, and you'll see a lot more of me during the GDI preparation. Uh, so it's all the best from my side. Have a good evening. Prepare well. Bye. Yeah, bye Harshit, bye Anshika, bye all of you. Bye Abhishek. Yeah, thank you Jasmine. Bye. Bye Shivam. Yeah, Shivam, 220 kj. I think the feedback last it was around 220, 222. So you're in the range. Watson Glasser, we are going to help you later. PI slot booking will start later, roughly the 5th of Jan. Vishal, by Shivam, yes, 220. Again, you are in the range, but cutoffs might go a little up and down this year because of the increasing number of takers. So 220, 225 is the range. Devishi, AWT, just Google, I would say, if you want topics, on GMAT prompts from last year. And I will also upload something on AWT from last year on the MyMS portal tomorrow itself, right? Bernal, ZAT, GK, and essay writing, we can discuss it separately. Sudeep, thank you so much that you like the session. Take care. Bye.